Coach, when you look at the game for a second time today, was it something that the Steelers did to disrupt the rhythm, or was it just maybe one or two plays that didn't allow you to get into the rhythm?
Yeah, you look at early in the game, we had a false start on the first play of the game. We had a holding call on second two that put us in second long. And what you got to do against those guys is stay out of those third and long situations. I think we had maybe 4 or 5 third downs that were under third and 8. And that's not how you want to play against a really good defense. So again, we started fast on defense. To be quite honest with you, we had the turnover on special teams, and then we started really slow on offense in that first quarter, and that really set us back on the road against a good team.
Thank you.
Zach, any updates on Joe Mixon and his availability for this week?
No, not yet. I don't expect to have one, in time for this press conference, but we'll see here these next couple of days.
Joe Burrow, you mentioned yesterday, but is he feeling good today after showing a couple signs yesterday?
Yeah, Joe will be fine. He's tough, and a couple of those just nicked him up for a couple of plays, but he's in good shape.
Do you have any idea of how you may want to use Tack? Is it just as a pass rusher, and how important is it for you to get somebody to get some consistent pressure on?
Yeah, that's a great question. We're excited to get him in the building and get him going because, he really comes off the football and plays with great effort when you just watch his snaps, even from just this year. And so we'll phase him in. We have a plan for him that we won't necessarily reveal to everybody yet, but it's a great question. He can rush the passer. He's efficient on early downs in the run game. So again, once we get our hands on him, first of all, because he's been all virtual at this point, now we can actually get him in the building and get a chance to know him and integrate him into the scheme and start to use him. And obviously he should be able to rush the passer for us.
Coach, I know the offense as a whole struggled yesterday, but AJ Green specifically, is there anything you can do to help potentially get him going? Because obviously this is kind of unprecedented throughout his career here, this lack of production, this window so far.
Yeah, but again, we have a really deep receiving core. And so it's a benefit for the quarterback where he doesn't have to be dialed in to just trying to get a ball to somebody. He can just throw to the open man. So again, it's part of the way it goes. I've kind of predicted this could happen for a couple guys as the season goes, where a guy has 8 catches one game and has 0 the next game, and so again, we just are careful not to overreact to that.
Zach, we've talked a few times about some of the late hits on Joe that have happened and not had calls. When you got another view of the one yesterday where he got kind of a little, I guess he called it a boost into the bench, what was your opinion on that? And does this kind of fall into that category of like you kind of wish that some of those calls would start to come your way?
Probably falls into that category, and I'll be very careful with my opinions.
I mean, when you see your quarterback kind of get thrown against a bench, though, I mean, what is your reaction? I mean, is that a frustrating thing in general?
Yeah, I mean, if there was a camera on me for the next 8 minutes, you would have seen my reaction going into halftime. So that would have been very clear had someone been filming that.
When that happens, do you want? Obviously, you don't want to get penalized or anything like that, but do you want your guys to almost stand up for Joe?
We have to be smart in the moment. We still have another play to play there right before the half. And, it's hard for them to see in that moment. So again, it's the way it goes. You got to play football. You got to refocus. You got to move on to the next play.
Jonah Williams was active yesterday. Is that a sign that he's close to returning from that stinger?
Yes, I think so. He practiced last week. Again, we felt like him coming off that energy, we were better suited to put those other 2 guys out there. But Jonah has made really good progress, and we'll see where he's at on practice on Wednesday.
Where does things stand with the intensive protocol? Do you anticipate being able to meet this week in person?
No, I do not. We'll be in the intensive protocol at least through this week.
Zach, is the offensive line still kind of just a week-to-week puzzle as you got to deal with injuries and different things? Is that kind of how you're viewing it right now?
It is. We got to see where people are coming back. You get good play from guys who are spot starting there, and really if you look at that thing in a nutshell and you just watch each play, those guys up front did a great job. We had some efficient runs. They really did a great job moving the line of scrimmage. they won a couple downs against us. They do that. They're a good defense. I thought in pass protection, really, it's the only two hits really in the first half were 3rd and 12 sack where the play got extended a little longer than normal. And they gave up some late pressure. And then the one, on the ball on the 35-yard line right before halftime, that one was one that we got to avoid. That was a clear sack. But and then we started throwing the ball a little bit more at the end of the third quarter, fourth quarter, and they got a couple hits there. But I thought overall those guys did a great job targeting, winning some one-on-ones, and gave us a chance to be able to do the things we need to do to win the game up front.
Like when you're fitting that puzzle together, how do you maybe when do you decide, all right, these are the 5 guys, let's try to roll with them? I mean, because it can obviously it seems like it kind of changes probably for you a Thursday to a Friday to a Sunday.
It has. It certainly has been that late. You don't want to go that. You want to do it before you start practicing on Wednesday, so you can communicate to the guys. They can get settled in their position. But that was late in the week. We had to make some adjustments there, and Hakeem and Quentin did a great job handling it.
Coach, do you anticipate getting some assistant coaches back from what that you lost Sunday?
It's a minimum 5 days when you're high risk, close contact. You travel on planes, buses, that factors into it a little bit. So it's a minimum of 5 days for some of those people.
Coach, what was the mood like with them? Maybe after games, you get a chance to talk to them. I'm sure they lamented the fact they couldn't be there to support you.
Yeah, that's an understatement. But again, it's just part of the adversity, the part of 2020, right? You guys all deal with it. We deal with it. Just got to make the most of it and make the adjustments that we can make and just move forward.
Thanks.
Zach, you said yesterday you can't let Pittsburgh beat you twice. Yeah. What did you mean by that?
Well, we didn't play good enough football in any phase to win that football game. And you can't spend all week talking about it and being pissed off at yourself about things you did. You got to move on from it quickly because we got a good football team in Washington coming up next week. They're getting better every week they play. And so you just got to put this thing to bed and move on and focus on Washington. When you lose a divisional game on the road and you're mad because that's not the way you envision it happening, you just can't dwell on it too long and let it extend to the week, and then you lose focus on what's important. That's the next football game.
Zach, how important is this stretch now? You've got a lot of games against teams that are similar to y'all. How important is it for y'all to kind of gain as much momentum as you can and pick up some victories as you kind of push towards 2021?
It's important. We need to win football games. And I don't worry too much about what's going on after Washington. I've seen the schedule obviously at the beginning of the season, but our focus is 100% on Washington, winning a road game. And so again, we'll focus on the other stuff. But this week we got to focus on beating Washington.
But in terms of what you're trying to build moving forward, in terms of the whole franchise, I mean, how important is it to pick up a few more victories and close the season on a strong note?
It's important just to get this next victory and then build off that momentum. We felt like we'd made some after we beat Tennessee, and then we didn't play our best yesterday. So we got to hit the reset button there, just in that way, just meaning put that game behind us. That's all I mean by that, and refocus. And our guys again have always had a great approach, and they'll be focused and ready to go on Sunday.
With the coaches, going back to them, the ones in protocol, can they run meetings over Zoom? They just can't be present in the facility?
Correct. And we can't have any in-person meetings anyway. So it's not all that different than what they'd be doing at the facility. They can't be at practice. It
might sound crazy or odd, but is it almost more of a hurdle to not have those guys at practice than it is to not have them on game day? It's important to have them at both, ultimately, if you could. There's adjustments that need to be made during the game. That's easy to communicate. Obviously with practice, they get a lot more individual time where they get to focus on their guys, their positions. So again, we're not the only team to deal with that. And we got a bunch of younger coaches too on that side of the ball that can step up and get an opportunity. And it's a great time to see them work as well.
Any more questions? A few times this year, after losses and disappointing games, Joe Burrow in his public comments is kind of fallen on the sword and taken it on him. Yesterday he said that if he didn't, quote, suck, that the team would have been in the game and had a chance to win. Did you pay attention to comments like that? And do you think it's important for a quarterback to have that quality about him, that when things go wrong, that he kind of accepts it upon himself, even if it's not all on him?
I think that's important from your leaders. And Joe we got high standards for all of our players. We got really high standards for Joe. Joe's probably got even higher standards for himself. And so again, he knows how he can play. He knows what level he can play to. I think that Joe always feels the right feelings after these games and puts a lot of pressure on himself because he knows he can handle it. He knows the team looks to him for leadership. And again, so we're proud to have that guy at the helm. I'd go to battle with him any day of the week. We just had an off day yesterday and it was on all of us. It's not on Joe. I know he wants to take responsibility for it, but I feel the same way about how I handled the game. So again, we'll put it to bed. We'll move on. We'll learn the lessons we need to learn. You always got to find something you can learn from some of these losses. We've had a lot of them. I hate saying that, but you do. You got to take some things from these games that we can grow from, learn from, not make those mistakes again. And I know for a young quarterback, that's as critical as anything. As you learn some of these lessons on the road against divisional opponents, and you store those away to use the next time you play them.
Zach, Joe's been pretty good in intermediate passing throughout the year. I think yesterday he was only 1 of 6, according to Next Gen. Is there anything that they did specifically to take away the middle of the field of those intermediate routes that y'all have been so successful with?
They did a nice job. Sometimes we could have had a better call. Sometimes we could have made some contested catches. Sometimes we could have been more detailed with our routes, and sometimes we could have been more accurate with the throw. And so really it's I think about every third down checked each one of those boxes in a different way. And again, you're not going to beat a good football team when those are the reasons why you're not converting.
1 more minute with Coach. Any more questions?
Zach, do you anticipate being back in the mix yet, or do we not know yet?
Yes, I do. We'll see where this week goes, but yeah, he's making good progress.